Hello everyone, it's Christine here and I'm back to share an update on my Roxy Journal of Stitchery treasure hunt piece, my Burgundy Bonheur. I can't even remember what I told you the last time I shared it. I think I was flagging that I would be stitching down this piece of tablecloth, this beautiful lacy tablecloth, so for the lace prompt, to cover the backing piece, which is this blanket from Alex's mum, which travelled out with her as a refugee from Budapest all the way to Australia. So it's got so much history, and I've decided to keep the blanket entirely intact. But what I've done is sewn this tablecloth across. I just did sort of stitches just to hold it down, and then as I start to stitch the pieces down, it will further get attached into. And so the piece I've done to surround the monogram that Betty had actually done herself. So it's got Elisabetta and got her surname here. And then I've used this lovely fabric which has burgundy grapes and birds, which you know I love, and leaves. And I've used that, and then I decided to cut out a heart to go around and frame the monogram and frame the direct look at the blanket, whereas elsewhere the blanket will have the lacy tablecloth over the surface, so the colours will be more muted. But I wanted to have a part of this where we could see the original blanket, and I just think it's amazing to have Betty's stitching from her teenage years that has come all the way and can now be treasured as part of a new piece. And what I've been doing here, which hopefully you can see, I've been using a variegated thread. It is an Aurifil thread, Mako 28, a cotton, I think number 28, if you're looking for it. But the great thing is it's got two different greens in it as well as a red, and so the reddy burgundy colour has been perfect for stitching around each of the grapes, and it's given them just such a lovely texture. It almost sort of draws them out from the fabric. And then I've been doing the the veins on the grapevine there. And so I just sort of hop around based on which bit of the fabric is coming out. And so you can see I haven't finished all the grapes down here, but most of the leaves are done. So I'm just sort of gradually working my way around. It's been a lovely little piece to work on while I've been really busy at work the last few weeks. And I haven't been able to do sort of full-on thinking stitching, so it's just been a really easy little thing to pick up and put down when I have a few moments of an evening. It hasn't been enough stitching time, but it is what it is. And so I thought I'd show you the other pieces that I'll also be adding in. I haven't stitched these down yet, but I think we're starting to get to a point now that we've got the prompt of vintage embroideries, laces, trims, that I'll have enough lovely things to kind of lay around and over and behind them that I will start stitching them down. So my plan is to kind of intersperse the larger pieces like these ones and have other sort of embellishments between them, and possibly some little smaller pieces too. But this was the one that I made for my grandpa. Measure twice, cut once, and really happy with this piece as well. And then we've got my monogram piece with my initials stitched in a thick perle cotton and then over stitched with gold thread. So that's just so lovely. And my plan with this one is to stitch it down with more gold thread to stitch around the design of the toile fabric. And then this one I found actually just in a drawer that I was cleaning out, and it's a beautiful monogram. Now, it was a lighter colour that was almost a bit more on the white side. So I actually just did a super light tea dot dyeing of it this afternoon, and it's just made it the most lovely golden sort of tone where the stitchery is. So really pleased with how that's come out. So that will be going on as well. And then I've got my hexy flower and hearts, joy de vivre for joy of life, so that will be going on as well. But because our current prompt is vintage trims, or sort of favorite trims, I thought I'd dive into my wooden basket that is just full of vintage trims, and we would pick out some that we'd like to use for this piece. So it's a great opportunity to have a bit of a look at what I've got in store. So I've got this lovely, and it's a really unusual colour. It's almost a slight green with a little bit of goldy colour in it. So I think that will definitely be nice. And what I'm thinking for my piece is to use some of the trims along the bottom of it. So it's got some extra bits sort of, yeah, hanging down, and just to have a sort of a alternating pattern of the trims flowing along the piece. So that's one of them. I've then got some more blingy pieces, because this piece will have sort of gold embellishment on it. I've obviously got the rusted sort of gold there, and got the key on this piece. But yeah, I am planning to have some gold. So again, I can use that to frame pieces. Oops, I just dropped some down. I used this part of this one in the piece over here to make the W for Wilf, but I'd like to use a larger piece of it with the flowers in it, so I'll definitely be keeping that out. I think the wider sort of laces, you can kind of consider those to be a trim, and again, I think that would be lovely, even, for example, using it just to soften the edge on this piece and just overlapping it with where the fabric is. I just love the effect of getting layers upon layers, so I think that could be really nice. I've also been just picking out various little bits of vintage embroidery as I go through my boxes. So this is just a nice little pine piece, so I'll keep that out. Got some lovely lengths, and it is quite old. It's got some staining on it as well, but again, I just think this would be lovely along as an edging piece attached down the bottom. And I don't even mind that it's kind of got that raw edge. I can then sit other pieces, for example, over the top of it, and I was thinking I could even do some stitching into it, even whether it's some French knots in the centers or some beads. So I think I can further embellish that trim. I may end up giving it just a quick tea dunk, because it is slightly whiter probably than I want. And I think I have a few others that will also benefit from that. So I've got this lovely little piece of broderie of some sort. I found some other little embroideries, so I'll be keeping those to add in. Again, it's a piece of lace or a piece of trim. Some other doilies that I plan to sort of add in there in their entirety, whether it's sort of just across a corner, and then I can use the central area to do some stitching into. Just straighten that out a bit more. I've got some others that were from Alex's mum as well. They're larger pieces of embroidered fabric, and this I would definitely have to tea dye, but really sections like this are a type of trim. And so, yeah, even if you don't have ribbons or sort of trim type things, you can get them from fabrics as well. Another example of that is this fabric, which I actually used in my hexagon piece, so it's used here around the border, but a section of this is really a type of trim. Even the selvage edge, that's a type of trim as well. So just giving you some different ideas if you don't happen to have sort of vintage trims. I've also got this lovely rickrack, and I did use a little bit of that on Grandpa's piece, but I'll probably incorporate a bit more of that. I'm also thinking that I'll lay some of these doilies that I want to keep in their entirety onto the piece, and then I'll be able to add sort of pieces centrally. For example, I mean, I could do it this way, but I won't for this particular piece. But it's just, yeah, I can continue to sort of layer up. And I'll probably add this piece of vintage embroidery and applique on as well. Got some more little vintage embroideries to add. Some small doilies. And so for trims, I think we can extend to include things like these little embellishment pieces. Now these were also white, and while I was away on holidays, I just did some quick tea dyeing of these as well, and it's just given them a lovely patina. Likewise, this one, I did a tea dye of that. So I think that's a trim. It's a decorative trimming piece. This is another one of the fabrics from Alex's mum, which I could tea dye if I'm running low. I don't think I will be running low. And in fact, this one's actually the same fabric, but in a brown colorway. So I can probably put that white one aside. And then again, another embroidered one from Alex's mum, which I'll definitely be able to, use a section of that as a trim as well. Another little sweet doily or lace work that I'll incorporate whole in the piece. This is going to be a great piece because I've got plenty of real estate, because it is the half side of a blanket. The other half will hang over the settee, so this will be the sort of back decorative area of the settee. So it's given me plenty of real estate to play with, which is fabulous. A beautiful broderie anglais. And another one as well. This one might need a tea dye also, but just a sweet little design. And I just think that scallop edge will look really lovely on the bottom of the blanket. Another vintage trim, which is a embroidered trim, needs a bit of an iron, but a beautiful goldy colour. Another one of the lovely little trimmy embellishments. Oops, this one I'm trying to get out of the basket. It's rather long. And a crocheted trim. This is a more recent one, a hessian and lace trim. So you can find all sorts of things, but I do have some plans for hessian to be incorporated into this piece. These are some embroidery, not vintage, more recent I do believe, but I thought they could be nice just to add some brightness around. Another lovely broderie anglais. And then some fun bits again. I think these could, now that I kind of know how I'm going to be using it, they could dangle off the bottom of the piece. A section of those. This is another idea of how you can use fabrics that have sort of banding in them to create your own trim sections as well. And then some other beautiful vintage fabrics that, again, I can cut out sort of sections of them as trim. And there's another one here. This one will be really beautiful as a trim as well, I think. And then this is one I've cut off a piece of furnishing fabric, but again, it's like a beautiful border, botanical border. Then I have a lovely, gorgeous, it's got a goldy coloured embroidery, goldy coffee sort of coloured, more gold than coffee. So that will be lovely to incorporate. Another piece of embroidery. I think that came off a placemat perhaps. And then another piece of cut out embroidery, more verging on sort of reddy tone, so I might need to tone it down. But something you can even do if you're wanting to tone down is I'll even be able to sort of sit them behind pieces that have this sort of gauziness, or even use some tulle that's dyed. This is an example where you can put sort of ribbon or something over just to soften the tones. And then this one, which I think I might have had out in my lace one, but I think it does definitely fit the definition of a trim. This is one of the sweet little pieces. I think I picked this one up in Bright on my recent holiday, I think. So yeah, just begging to kind of have some stitching or something done on it, but I'd like to incorporate it whole. Another beautiful little flower embroidery. And then some more of these, which again I think could be really great used around the border of some of the rectangular pieces, just to soften any of those. And then another lovely broderie anglais. Thicker laces I think can also be used as trims. I might even give this a tea dye. It's more of a grey cream. Not sure if this bling will make it in, but maybe a little section somewhere that needs a lift. And then I've used a little bit of this, I think, in my grandpa's. Yeah, I just used a tiny little bit down here just to add some texture and dimension, but I might use a larger section of this at some point. And then these are some more of the trim embellishments. Again, a piece of lace that I've been kind of chopping into. Some more of the hearts embellishments, which I guess can go with the heart prompt as well. This was another one, a lace that I tea dyed. It was actually quite bright white, and it's come out the most beautiful golden colour as well. So I'm thinking I can probably fussy cut out individual flowers and leaves. This one will probably need tea dyeing, but it's a sweet little border. This was one of the vintage trims that I was going to use in Grandpa's piece, but I didn't end up using it, I don't think. But I'd like to include some of both sides because I actually like the way both, I even don't know, I think the front is meant to be this side probably, and that's meant to be the back, but I think they're both pretty super. And then this was a piece of lace, again a white lace that I had from the bridal shop where I got a whole lot of lace cut-offs and remnants, and it's just dyed up to be a beautiful goldy cream. I'm not sure if the camera's picking it up in the colour that it actually is, but it's come to become a really gorgeous off-white. This was another one that was just bright white that I dyed with tea, and it's come out really nice, and it's picked up the different textural elements on it. So sometimes dyeing with tea gives you something much more striking. That was another one I tea dyed. I've got a big bag of this trim. I can probably actually put that bag away because I think I'll only need this much of it. But again, it's be nice to incorporate that. And then when you're thinking of trims, you can think of your ric-racs as well. I've already used some of this ric-rac along that piece of my grandpa's. This is just a sweet little doily. It's got some little holes, but again, I'd like to incorporate that hole, and then you sort of put Stitchery in the centre of it. Another gorgeous fabric embroidered trim. Some more broderie anglais. Might need to again give that a little bit of a tea dye. I think this is just a smaller piece of that one we were looking at earlier. This is a lace that this is actually another of the bridal laces that I tea dyed, and again it's gone from bright white to a really lovely vintage looking colour. Okay, so I'm wanting a bit more bling. So I'll call that, I think I call that a trim. It's a blingy trim. And then some other little bits I've tea dyed. This one's more in the silver than gold colourway. I am wondering how it would go if I tea dyed a little bit of it. I use some of this in my down the garden path, but it is rather lovely, so I'll keep it in consideration. That's probably, I guess it's a trim or a lace. It's hard to know these days. And then that's a smaller piece of that one that I showed before, I think. Yeah, it's that one down there. And then some little trim pieces. I guess this would have been the corner on something. And then some larger pieces of lace. Some more sweet little trim features. It's lucky that I've got a whole blanket to decorate. Oh, so much, but I figured get it all out, have it all in the sort of the basket, and then I can start assembling this. I think I am getting to that point. And here's some more of that greeny coloured one that we looked at the start. Trims can be tiny as well. This is a little braided trim. I'd almost say it's almost a sort of Got a bit of bronze and a little bit of silver and a little bit of gold, so it could go, could go. Get rid of that one. That one's pure white. Another one of the tea-dyed little embellishments. Another lovely embroidered edgy piece. And another one there. A very retro sort of flower brown trim, but given I do have the brown in the piece, I want to make sure I carry that through. A lovely little collar trim piece, so I think I can definitely use some collars. And I've got a larger one that I think would have been a collar, but if you know what it would have been, let me know. So it's sort of, I imagine it would have gone around a collar somewhat like that, I think. So I would like to keep it in its entirety, I think. And because I've got the real estate, I guess it can just become a border for something else to sit within it. In fact, I'm just having a ponder. Could I even sit something like my joie de vivre in it? Possibly, probably not quite the right shape. But again, that's kind of the idea that I could use. I've got this amazing piece of fabric, which is like a lace, but it's got these roses on it, and I would like to get some of these into the piece. I might even give them a tea dye as well, although they're quite a nice cream colour at the moment. So I don't know if they fit trim or whether I should keep them for a sort of a flower prompt or something. Some more broderie. This one I definitely want to add in. It's got sweet little deers on it, so that's a definite. Another bit of collar trim. Some more little flower trims. I guess we can call lace. I love that this is a beautiful goldy coffee colour. And some other little inset inlaid broderie pieces. Some more broderie. And some more. You're probably sick of seeing all the different colours. That's almost a yellowy colour. And then some others there, and then some more beautiful decorative lace work pieces. This has some nice gold in it, so it's a bit blingy. And then another large sort of trim type piece. Leave that up there. Some more little sweet little pieces here. Another one here. And finally, I've got this little pom-pom trim that I thought could be very sweet, but I'll probably need to give that a little bit of a tea dye. So that is where I'm up to on the piece so far. And that's my selection of trims and laces and other little bits and pieces. So I guess I've got a bit of work to start to think about where I want to stitch my existing pieces down and what I want to start laying down along the base. But it's great to have all these in one sort of spot, and I'll combine them with some of my other laces as well. And I hope you're having fun with this prompt. It'll be a shorter video today just because yeah, there's lots going on. But I did at least want to share my thoughts for the trims and give you a bit of an update on how my various pieces are looking and how I'm planning to bring them all together on this amazing blanket and the amazing travels it has had, and give it an entirely new and celebratory life in our house. So thank you everyone for watching. Take care, and I look forward to chatting with you soon. Bye.